Michael Boyle's StrengthCoach.com presents the Strength Coach Podcast, brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. PerformBetter.com.
All right, guys, welcome to another special edition of the Strength Coach Podcast. We do this almost every month. We missed last month. Totally my fault. I was running around all over the place.
Busy bee.
Yeah, man. And I wasn't really that busy, but I was like, I can't deal with Vince this month. So, but Vince, I did see Vince at the Perform Better Summit in Long Beach. Both of us, we didn't go back to back this year.
Yeah, I don't know. What's up with that? I was looking forward to doing your intro.
There you go. But Vince, before we get to some of the things, I want to ask you one thing about the industry, about what's happening right now and what you see, and just in terms of like state of the industry. I've seen some things. I get that email from Anthony Veneri, I think that's his name, Fit Insider.
Yeah.
And they talk about like Lifetime's talking about having a record year in terms of memberships and personal training, but that's because they're adding clubs too. But I just wanted to get your feeling about the gym owners and how they're feeling, and are they struggling with growth? Where are we now? Where would you say the industry is now? Like, are we back?
I tell you, let me just pull out my crystal ball and tell you what I thought you were going to ask me what the future of the fitness industry is. And let me
No.
So here's the answer to the question. Some people are back and doing better than ever.
Okay.
Some people are sucking serious wind. Right. So I don't have the data. Right. I work on a much smaller sample size than maybe some of the industry. I mean, it's probably a better Josh from the Fitness Business Association. I'm blanking on his last name. But they have a lot more data and they're doing research on this. So there's better people to ask than me. So I can give you what's going on in the context of
your group.
Right. And we right now have actually exactly 100 members in the SPF mastermind. Right. So it's a decent size sample size. And the cool thing is that our sample size is cut from a very similar cloth. Like, we don't have like 50 of them are big box gyms, 50 of them are Orange Theories. That's like, we are 100 privately owned small group personal training, semi-private personal training gyms ranging from 2,000 to 5,000 square feet. Right. You know, it's like we're all the same. We're all Oompa Loompas, if you will. Right. So I will say that we do a weekly check-in, right? And this is a very unscientific answer to your question. But we do a weekly check-in every Friday, and I ask them how things are going by giving me a color: green, yellow, or red. Red means the shit has hit the fan and I need some serious help right now. Please, God, we're going under, right? Yellow is, man, things are going really crappy right now and I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. And green means we're a go, everything's good. There is a boatload of green coming out of the SPF mastermind right now. And I will say this, and the month of May, I don't know why this is, but the month of May was like gangbusters for these guys. Yeah. So we do the P&Ls for the CEO mastermind, right? And they bring their P&Ls, and we just had our round of meetings for the last quarter. And like, I'm looking at May, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, in May, what was going on? But like, across the board, there was this like spike in revenue. And we saw it here at Gabriel Fitness too. Like, it was just, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but I guess the answer to your question is, I think that the owners that are taking responsibility for their business, that are investing in themselves, that are doing consistent marketing, that are focusing on retention, they are doing well.
Okay.
And there are people, I had a call with someone recently that's been in the industry a long time, and you can just tell he's tired, and he's got crushed in COVID, and he's just is not back. And it's likely he won't be back just because he's just tired. And so I think that that's like what it is. A lot of it really comes back to the person running the show. I really don't know. And here's the other thing too. We have a lot of guys that in our group that are opening up small locations, right? And if you want to like say where's are going, well, if you're going to really do well right now, I'm doing a presentation at the next mastermind next week called More from Less, right? And it's all about how can you get more from less? How can you make more money with less space? How can you make more money with less trainers? How can you make more money with less clients, right? And focus on lean, strong, profitable models. I think that's where people need to go, especially right now, because we're not out of the economic challenges right now. Like it's going to get probably worse, right? Again, I forgot my crystal ball, so I'm not really sure, but if I'm reading a book right now called The Fourth Turning, and it's all about how the world is like in these cycles of 80 to 100 years, and the first cycle is prosperity, and the middle cycles, I forget what they're called, but the last cycle is crisis, right? And we're in the crisis cycle right now. The years that we are in, we're in the crisis cycle. Well, hence, and it was like, dude, the book was written, I think, in 97. And it's just like, yeah, before 2025, there's going to be a shit ton of stuff that happens. And it's like, holy cow, it just happened. It's like, oh my God, that was right. Like, and I was like, wow. So we're kind of in that mode, right now. So I do think that, but that doesn't mean people can't be successful, right? That doesn't mean, we have guys that are killing it right now.
Yeah.
We have guys that are killing it, but is everybody killing it? No. So it really comes back to the owner, and that's why I do this stuff, right? Honestly, like most of the stuff I do is I speak directly to the owner of the business, and my job is to help the owner of the business. I want them to get in their mind. I want to get their head on straight with how they're feeling about their business, about their financials, about everything. And if I can help improve that one person, that the rest of their business is going to kind of follow through.
Yeah.
So it's a long-winded answer to your question, but yes, there is some promising signs coming from our group, at least. Can only speak, from that lens.
Yeah. Do you think it's a lot has to do with, like, when you said he's tired? I think, all of us, when we try to take on too much, we can, especially now, because social media, to master social media, there's different channels. There's social media advertising, and you've been on here talking about, look, you don't need to be on social media and post, but then you also can do it as well. But then there's the ads part. Then there's all the other stuff, learning software, right? Knowing all the software that comes up, that you can have for your business. There's all these things in their business. So I could see where people get tired, but what are people complaining about? Is there something like, are people complaining like, I just can't get sales because there's too, I'm not bringing enough people in to my place?
So a couple of things there. So I was on a call yesterday with a man named Dean Jackson, and there's a very famous book out there right now that was written by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy, and the book is titled Who Not How. And have you read it?
I didn't read it. I read Gap in the Gain, and I thought of, I should just read that one too, but I didn't read that one. Yeah.
So Who Not How, but it was a concept originally invented by Dean, right? And then Dean, and it wasn't stolen or anything. Like Dean says, yeah, take it and run with it and go write the book. Like he didn't care, right? But I'm on the call with Dean, and I was talking to him about the podcast, my podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I've taught this concept. I've been teaching this concept for a long time, right? And he's talking to me about the podcast, and it's like, well, all you gotta do is, take little bits of your podcast, pull them up into, 1 to 3 minute clips, and then, put them all over your social media feed and put a link back to your website and have them go listen to the full episode on your website, and then, go from there. Right. So he's telling me how, to do this. And then he's like, and remember, and I knew obviously I'm not going to do this because I'm a pretty decent delegator. If there's one thing I'm decent at is delegation. I know what I know, right? What I do and I don't do, right? And he's like, well, remember, you're not, Vince, you don't do this stuff. You who, not how it, and you get someone else to do it, right? But that's really where burnout happens.
Yeah.
Burnout happens from you trying to do everything yourself, by you being the mother hen, right? And you not having the ability to recognize when you need to hire somebody to be able to do the job that needs to get done. And typically what it is they are spending way too much time on lower value work and not enough time on higher value work. And so what they do is they put themselves in the economic standpoint, the economic standing to be able to hire anybody because they don't have the money. Because they're, and a lot of that can be traced back to a potential pricing issue, right? They're not charging enough money for it, right?
Yeah,
so there's always, you can always peel the onion right back, but the reality of the situation is most people get burned out because they have not developed the ability to lead and manage people and get people to do the things that need to be done. So they do it themselves, and then they get tired and then they get burned out. And that is like, if you think about it, that is like we go through stages. I've gone through these stages with you on these podcasts, right? In the beginning stages, you're that person, you're LeBron James, you're doing everything. Where there's a skill set that needs to be developed to get to the next stage. And that's your ability to identify a couple good people, to be able to lead and manage those people. And if those people leave, to be able to replace them with new ones and better ones. And then while they're there, to be able to train them and build a culture around them. It's a skill set. If you don't have that skill set, if you don't at least develop that skill set, you'll constantly be throwing yourself back into stage one where you're doing everything yourself. And you'll be tired. So really I believe what stands in the way, I've said this, like what stands in the way of most people having business success is a couple business skills. Really, I believe it's that simple. I believe if you develop the skills of understanding how to acquire new customers, you develop the skills of how to create a really, really good product that retains people, you develop some financial intelligence skills to be able to read a profit and loss statement so you're not spending all your money, right? That you can do pretty damn well. And it ain't rocket science, but you do have to have the wherewithal to learn. And I think that's kind of where they get caught up in. That's why I teach so much business, because most people have all the training knowledge they need to be successful enough to keep the clients they got.
Yep.
And it's just like at one point, like how many hot dogs can you really eat? Right. At one point, how much are you just, gorging yourself with more and more and more and more information? And, I often found like, it's kind of like, a lot of people have the knowledge for like that 10% of their clients can use. And they spend, it's like 80-20. They spend 80% of their education on 20% of their clients that can do any of that shit. And then the 80% of the clients that need it, they're only using 20%. Like, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. But if you, but, we're, as business owners, when you signed a lease, you made a decision to have to understand how a business works. And the people that don't embrace that and don't embrace learning that will struggle.
Absolutely. Good point. And I think to go back and to segue this into what we were originally going to talk about is, you were talking
I
about
don't even remember that.
Yeah. Less is more. Originally, you were talking earlier about, teaching people about, they got a lot of guys doing that. And then I think this is the same thing. It's, one of people talk about referrals a lot. Oh, I'm word of mouth, but people don't really have a system for that. And I think a lot of people are afraid to ask their current clients, and they think they're going to ruin that relationship. So let's get into this idea about referrals, because a lot of people, they might feel like a beggar.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is so known, right? This is not like a shock for people to everyone that, runs any business, even if you don't even run the business, that referred clients are typically better clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they're less resistant to price. They probably don't complain as much. They come in and they already know some people. Like it's just a really nice thing. I mean, the phone call you get on, a Saturday at 9 a.m. and it's just like, hey, I got your number from so-and-so who's been a client of yours for the last 5 years, and they told me about your gym and I really need to get going and I'd like to sign up for a membership. And it's just like, man, wouldn't I love to just get that phone call all the time? It's just like the best thing ever. So I'm just going to come in. I'll give you my credit card. Yeah, whatever it costs, that's fine. Money is no object. It's just like, yeah, it's just like, wouldn't we? So we know that. And typically what we do is we sit and wait for that to happen. We allow it to happen by accident. And what I like to do is I like to explain actually how hard it is for that phone call to occur. So think about this. And all referrals happen from a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of has to happen where someone says something to somebody and then somebody does something. That's kind of how it happens.
Yeah, like, Aunt, you look amazing. What are you doing? That's how somebody will start.
Pretty much, right? And so think about this. Just imagine one of your clients, and let's say it's a female, and she goes out, for lunch after her workout with a girlfriend. And they get to talking about the gym. And she says, well, what's the name of the gym? And she says, Gabriel Fitness. And she's like, all right, cool. I'm going to go check it out. And she's like, yeah, you should definitely check it out. It's awesome. I love it. And she's like, I'm going to do that. And she leaves lunch. And then she goes to the school and she picks her kids up. And then she drives her kids to gymnastics. And then she drives the other kid to dance. And then she drives the other kid to jujitsu. And then she goes home and then she cooks dinner. And then she goes home and she's got to get back on to do her PTA stuff. And then what she has to do is she has to remember, oh yeah, 6 hours ago, I talked to so-and-so about Gabriel Fitness. And what's that the name? Was it Gabrielle? Was it Gabrielli? How do you spell Gabrielli? It's like, well, let me try and type it in. And for some crazy reason, she remembers what it is because, of course, she didn't write it down. And of course, the friend didn't give her anything to actually remind her of it, right? And she finally, by a miracle, remembers what was the name of that gym. And she types it into Google. And all of a sudden it comes up. And the website, since the website sucks, the website is on page 5. So she's got to scroll to page 5 on Google. And she clicks the website. And there's nowhere to be found. And finally, she scrolls to the bottom. She finds a phone number. And she calls it. And there's no one there because it's 9 o'clock at night. So she leaves a message. Then the gym owner forgets to call them back for 7 days later. Then she calls them back. And all of a sudden, they meet and they become a client. Think about that. That is typically what happens.
Yeah.
that is kind of how referrals happen. And when you think about how hard that is, right? Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, right? The stars always align, Ant, right? So it does happen. But that is kind of the process, right? And it's great when it happens. And what I teach people to do is I teach people to make that process easier for the client to refer and easier for the potential client to take action. And that's really what I believe is the secret to getting more referrals, is to create intentional strategies that the business provides the clients to make it easy for people to refer and then easy for people to take action. And that's really what I think the secret is. The secret is intention, is that they are doing things to help people get referrals. And so if I was to ask a gym owner and I handed them a piece of paper and I said, all right, cool, write down to me the ways you are generating referrals intentionally, meaning the things that you are doing to help generate a referral. Most people will not be able to put anything down in that paper. Most people would be like, oh, I'm just like, once in a while we get a referral. And it's too important for this. And one of you'll like this story, but I believe referred clients are so important because I believe referred clients have the longest lifetime value. And they have the longest lifetime value because they have friends there. And people will stay at gyms longer when their friends are there. So get this. So I'm out cooking Mexican. I could tell Vanessa had a hard day. So
well, that's because she brought the kids to gymnastics, jiu-jitsu, and dance.
Yeah.
You were talking about Vanessa, by the way. Yeah, Vanessa.
So I could tell she had a hard day, right? And I was like, I'm going to make her a drink. And Vanessa's drink is vodka and lemon with water. That's her drink. And I was like, she had a hard day. I wanted to treat my wife really good. So I went to the cabinet and I got some sugar. And I was like, I'm going to make her vodka lemonade. I'm going to sweeten this thing up. And so I put a little sugar in it. And she took a sip and she looked at me and she was like, that is amazing. And she like slurped it down and drank it like super fast. And she's like, honey, can I have another one? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I went to the cabinet. And this time when I made this one a little stronger, she's like, she's feeling good. I want her to feel good. I went to the cabinet, got a little more sugar, put the sugar in there, gave her another one. And she drank it down. All right. And she's like gulping this stuff. It was kind of a hot day. She's gulping it down. And she's like literally finished. She's like, holds her finger up. And she goes, one more? And I was like, all right.
Oh, no.
And so I went to the cabinet. I filled it with vodka, this time a little more, right? I don't drink right now, so I'm not having any. I'm just enjoying watching her, right? And I go there. I was like, I'm going to make this a real sweet one. So I put a lot of sugar in this one, right? And I gave her the drink. She drinks it down. All of a sudden, I look around. Vanessa is nowhere to be seen. And I go upstairs and she's literally like passed out, drunk on the bed at like 7 o'clock at night. And she was just out cold, right? At 7 o'clock at night. So I got my wife drunk. And I wake up in the morning and she's gone. And I'm just like, what? Like, did she go to the gym? And she had gone to the gym and she come back at 6 o'clock and she starts yelling at me. And she's like, you poisoned me last night. You poisoned me last night. She's like yelling at me like that I poisoned her. I was like, no, I just gave you a little extra sugar in your drink and she wasn't used to the sugar. And we know sugars make a hangover. And she was sick as a dog. And she spent the rest of the day in bed. But what does that tell you? She made it to the gym. And she made it to the gym for one reason and one reason only, that when she goes at 6 a.m. every morning, her best friends are there. And she never misses.
Yeah.
Not from a hurricane, not from rain, not from storm, not from one of the worst hangovers she's ever had in her entire life, caused by her, for her first love, right? But she went to the gym hungover as hell, probably drunk as hell, because her friends were there. And she didn't want to let her friends down. And she didn't want to not hang out with her friends and not work out with her friends. And the other thing was, she doesn't want to have those people one up her on her Apple Watch. This whole Apple Watch thing is a whole nother can of worms. And I really think we should be paying attention to it. But she is like constantly being like, oh my God, how did Helen have more steps than me today? Oh my God, how did Helen close her rings faster than me? Like, oh my God, like they're like obsessed with it. Right. But the reality of the situation was, she went to the gym that day because their friends were there. And I believe referred clients that train with their friends, the lifetime value of that client is where a lot of money is hiding. And we get that from referrals. And so since we know that, what we got to do is we got to orchestrate this process. And we have to do specific things that are generating referrals.
Vince, can you just talk a little bit about, okay, you're saying specific things. Is that just saying, okay, we need to have a promotion with people and reward them? Because I feel like that doesn't always incentivize people. Do we have to have a process? Obviously, you're creating intentional strategies, but is there a timeline with these? Because sometimes people feel like it could be, and I'm always asking Vince for referrals. I feel weird, so just what are some of these intentional strategies without kind of going over the top? Because you said we don't want to feel like a beggar.
Yeah. So I teach this in my 6-week new client search program. It's a marketing program that I teach for gym owners. And there's really 3 parts to a really good referral machine. Okay. Part 1 is these intentional tactics, which I'll go over in a second, is that there's intentional things. The intentional things can be broken up into 2 pieces. One are things that are what's called evergreen, things that happen all the time, things that are built into your business systems that happen every day. 2 is kind of what you just mentioned, are event-based referral systems. But both of them are intentional, whether it's evergreen, whether it's event-based, both are intentional, meaning we are controlling we're not really controlling the outcome, right? That I do want to make that point, that you cannot control the outcome. You can only control your activity to try and create the outcome. But there is something called the law of averages, Ant. And the law of averages states that the more times you do something, the greater likelihood that you will succeed. Right. So we're going to use the law of averages and do this more. Right. So you have intentional tactics broken up into 2 categories. 1, stuff happens all the time that's built into your business systems. 2, events that have an event could be a charity event, an event could be a bring a friend week, that type of thing. Right. The second piece of the machine is a reward system. Okay. And the reward system does not have to be told in advance. I believe that people refer more to elevate their status in a relationship than they do for $100 bill. So I don't think it's fully necessary, depending on your market. I don't think it's fully necessary to bribe people for referrals, but I think it's 100% necessary to show appreciation when you get one. And when you show appreciation when you get one, there's a greater likelihood that will happen again. Right, that behavior. So the second part is reward system. That could be a handwritten card, that could be a Yeti mug, that could be blah, blah, whatever. Right, doesn't have to be anything crazy. But if you really understood your lifetime value, you probably would give people more. Right. So at GFA, the lifetime value is $5,000. Someone sends me 4 clients. They just gave me $20,000. And I'm giving them, a beach ball, I'm not, I just made that up. All right. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like,
yeah.
All right, I'll take, you're giving me 20K. I'll give you 1,000. Right. And I'm not saying you have to give them 1,000, but I'm saying that maybe you give them if they're a fan of the Chicago Bears, you go buy them a really nice Chicago Bears jersey. That's $500 or $1,000.
Yeah.
Right. And so now you have something that's nostalgic to them, or something that's close to them, but 2, it's something that's of value, so
you do something like that, they're probably never leaving you too.
Probably not.
Right. I mean, there's that whole idea about reciprocation, right? That's an important piece of
reciprocity
of the triggers. And I love that. That's a great way to put it, doesn't it? I love the way, show appreciation instead of, because I feel like the other way, especially sometimes with our clients, they have plenty of money, some of them,
Yeah.
A lot of them, and they're not looking for that, like you said, that $100. Something more thoughtful would be, I know Joey Coleman talked about that in Never Lose a Customer Again, or
Yeah.
something.
Mhm.
Talking
That
about
was a
like
good book.
specific gifts, right?
Right. Right.
So we
And
have two: intentional tactic, reward system. What's the
and
third?
then the third one is called Omnipresence. And Omnipresence is where you take up real estate in their homes and on their person. And so the example is, you know, the them going into their kitchen and them having a magnet on their refrigerator that's got your logo on it. Them wearing your t-shirt, them using a shaker bottle that has your logo on it, right? So there is them getting regular emails from you, right, on a regular basis. So with your specific clients, so I do a ton of this, right, with my SPF members. Like they have SPF everything, right? We didn't get boxer shorts yet, but they're coming, silk ones, right? But they have shakers, they have daily planners, they have magnets, they have stickers, they have backpacks, they have all kinds of stuff. And I want them to not go. They have Yeti mugs are great because you know when people drink coffee at
When?
yeah,
In the morning?
they drink coffee every damn day.
No, and that's yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
That's when they drink coffee every damn day.
And sometimes twice.
When are they going to use their Yeti mug? Every damn day.
Damn day.
When are they going to think of you? Every damn day. Right. And that's kind of what you want to provide. You want to provide the reminders because all referrals happen from a conversation, as we said earlier. And so if I can constantly be reminded of the business that I'm going to talk about, there's a better chance and likelihood that I'm going to do that.
Love it. I think I like this idea with the omnipresence in terms of a lot of times people get caught in doing only one thing. I mean, we could go back and analogy be like the marketing glove, right? Like you thought, you can't just have one kind of marketing, right? We want the glove, we want the 5 pieces. But I think people just say, oh yeah, I made shirts for everybody. No. There's more to it. Like there's other things, and like do it again with the mug. Do it. Have other things. The daily planner's great. There's lots of things that we could get people that would put our logo on it and make them feel like that they're appreciated.
Yeah, no, and even pens too. I mean, we give SPF members pens, like really nice pens that they use. I mean, you just try to think of things they use. What I like to do is give people stuff that they use a lot, right? So I know like my clients are using a daily planner every day. They're using a shaker bottle every day. They're drinking coffee every day. They're using pens, like this every day. So what are things that they are using on a daily basis? We actually, at one point, as gifts, we were giving out cast iron pans as referral gifts.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Really, really nice, like Le Creuset cast iron pans for referral gifts. And reason why is like you cook with that. I mean, you cook a Le Creuset, you're like cooking eggs in that, you're cooking veggies in that, like you're using that a lot. And every time you pull that thing out, one, it's heavy as shit, right? Like it's heavy, so you got to like lift it up and that, right? But it's a reminder that they got that gift from you. And every time they pull it out to use it, they're thinking of you.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's just reminded me. I'm watching. Did you see The Bear? You don't watch a lot of TV probably, but I don't either. But we just got. My in-laws are always like this series, that series. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not watching that. But somebody had told me about The Bear, and it's about a restaurant. So I kind of, obviously my past, I wanted to watch it. And there's this in season 2. They're talking about the one guy has to go into this ultra exclusive restaurant, but it's a very Danny Meyer like situation. For people that don't know Danny Meyer, he's a New York City restaurateur who, among other things, owns Shake Shack, right? But never mind Shake Shack. His other restaurants were the ones that but the guy was a master, and he has a book out, and I forget the name of it right now, but he's a master really at CRM originally. Like he was one of the first guys that really did some amazing stuff. And he would I remember in his restaurant, you could he would go up to the hostess and he'd be like, pull up table 21. And there would be a list of things like whether it's somebody's birthday and what the people's names were, what their favorite drink. And he would just be like, okay, look, that, there's Vanessa Gabriel. She's, bring her over. Yeah, I'm going to bring her over a vodka and lemon with sugar. Even though she didn't have a good experience with it last time, but no, so he would bring over, and it just reminded me of that, is that conscious effort with understanding your client. Like when you said, if somebody likes the Bears, that's what reminded me of it. Funny enough, it does take place in Chicago. The last name is Berzante, so the restaurant's going to be the Bear. So it just totally reminded me, because they in their opening restaurant scene, they do talk like they're going around the tables and like, hey, table 19 is celebrating this, this one is doing this, and it's all intel on. It wasn't really told to them. They researched it. They went on Instagram. They did all these things like, Vince's son does jiu-jitsu and he won the other day. So they would come up with a little cake and be like, we heard you won your tournament the other day, whatever. Right. So just really cool stuff if you're paying attention.
That's awesome. No, very, very good. It's funny you say that. My son, Vanessa, always makes fun of me that my son is he's shredded. Like he's 7 years old and he's got like a legit 6-pack and he's got muscles and he bangs out pull-ups. And it's just like, and Vanessa's like, you're so jealous of his abs and his hair. And I'm just like, yeah, I really am. His kid's got a full head of hair. And the other day he says to me, Dad, you're going bald. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why I wear a hat, buddy.
Wow.
But it's so funny to say that. But yeah, so let me get into some of these. I'll just do a couple of them. All right. So I believe one of the more important ones is seizing opportunities when they arrive. And the opportunity in most businesses, if I was to ask someone listening to this, and I'm just talking to your listeners right now, and just like in the last 90 days, has someone came up to you and said, hey, I just want to tell you, I'm feeling really great. I love this place. I'm feeling awesome. You guys are doing a really good job. And I'm willing to bet almost everyone that's listening to this in the last 90 days has had someone to said that. And typically what happens is we kind of shrug it off and say, thanks a lot. Yeah, you're so nice. Blah, 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 blah. And then they move on with their day. And it's just like, that is a huge mistake. And what they should be doing is realizing that that is an opening to have a conversation about getting a referral. Right. And if you think about it, they are just inviting them to do that. I mean, it's such a blatant, obvious time to do it. So now you're not kind of coming and be like, hey, do you know anybody to give me a referral? Now you're taking the opportunity that they told you good things about you to ask, for a referral. Right.
Well, what would you say?
So what the thing you say is like, hey, I'm really, really proud of you. That's so awesome. I do want you to know that I have these cards in the back, and they're black and they're metal, and they give a member, a friend of yours, a free month here at JFP. And I got a bunch of them in the back, and I was wondering if someone kind of comes into your mind right now that you think would benefit from training with us, for a month for free. And then basically you say it, hopefully they say somebody, right? And if they don't, so you could remind them and just say, yeah, I mean, it could be your spouse, it could be a friend of yours, it could be someone that you work with, it could be one of your neighbors, whatever. We're trying to fill this place with good people, like you. And I got this card here, and you can just give it to them for free. You'll look like the hero, to give them a free month of the gym. And if they sign up, great. If they don't, no problem. But yeah, so is there someone that kind of pops into your head that you think would benefit from this? And, the ideal thing is that's like, yeah, I was thinking about giving this to my wife. And it's like, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to meet your wife. And what you say is, here's what I'm gonna do. Think about it, and maybe it's your wife, maybe it's someone else. What I'll do is I'm going to email you tonight, and I'll send you an email, and I'll just remind you of this conversation that we had. And then what you can do is, when you're ready, you can introduce me to your wife via email. And you can just reply to the email that I send you and CC your wife on it. And then I'll take it from there. Right. So that's how I would do it. That's how I would structure, the conversation. But the reality of this is happening every day in gyms. And most of the time, what's not happening is any type of conversation. And hell, maybe you can't get a referral, but maybe you get a testimonial, right? Maybe you get a testimonial, maybe you ask them. And I'm sure if they are offering, their testimonial to you, that they'd be willing to do it on Google, hands down. So that's probably one of the first intentional tactics, right? That you do this yourself, but you also teach others on your staff how to do this, because I bet you your staff hears it too. And can you imagine if you have 5 trainers, right? If now 5 trainers are doing this on a daily basis, and then you can create a process that we have here at GFP called the 250 Club. And anytime a trainer generates a referral that becomes into a client, we give them a check for $250.
Ooh, nice.
Right. So you can start creating a little game and gamify it with your staff to do it. But really, it's all about, listening for the cues. There's a book called The Power of Habit that talks about a habit loop, right? And the habit loop is that there's a cue, there's a routine, and there's a reward. All right. The cue is, you guys are awesome. I love you. The routine is you get into a conversation with them about someone that they could send to you. The reward is a potential referral. And are you going to get a referral from anybody? No way. But go back to the law of averages. The more you do it, like, the more you're going to get it. So that's one. I'll give you one more.
Cool.
The point of sale referral, meaning every time someone signs up for a membership, that is the most excited they're going to be, right? And there's something called the reticular activating system, which is a part of the brain that kind of lights up when something is familiar and new. And I equate this to when you go look for a new car, right? And you're looking for a new car, and all of a sudden you start seeing that new car on the road everywhere. And the cars are passing by and they're passing by. You're like, oh man, there's a lot more Ford Raptors on the road right now. And no, there's not more Ford Raptors on the road at all. You're just more aware of that. Well, they'll never be more aware of your gym. They'll never think about it more and talk about it more than when they just start joining. The newness, the novelty of it getting started, right? And so they're more apt to refer in that moment. And so what we do is we give them a card, same thing I said before, but it's at a different moment. It's at a different time. The moment is right when they start. And we kind of go through a very similar conversation as what we went through before, right? But now it's almost like, do you want to do this with somebody? You're starting this journey. Do you want to do this journey with somebody? I'd like to give you this card, for a free month, right? And so that is like leveraging that standpoint is got to be an automatic, meaning you never don't do it. So we have a process at our gym called unlocking the door. You stick the key in, you turn it to the left, and all of a sudden the door opens. And never once in the history of our company has that not happened on a day that we've been in business. And that is how consistent it has to be on referrals, right? A referral system needs to be as consistent as unlocking the door. Meaning when you sign up a new client, you give them the card for a free month to give as a gift to a friend. You don't forget. You don't not do it. You don't say, oh, it wasn't the right time. Oh, I wasn't sure. No, you just every time do it. And then the law of averages will kick in. The more clients you get, the more cards out you give, the more potential that you'll get a referral.
Vince, do you follow up with that person? You be like, hey, Vince, checking in first week. I just want to check in. Look, we get just a reminder. We gave you that card. Is there anybody you have in mind? We'll call them or whatever.
Absolutely. And we use black metal cards, and we actually have numbers printed on them. And so when they get the card, we're like, yeah, and we email them. And the email says basically, hey, we gave you a card and that it was ending in 001, right? And we'll say, just wondering if you had a moment to think about who you want to give it to. Just let us know. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a really good question. And I think that people don't do that. Yes, you need to do the follow-up process on that. But I think just like, hey, if people listening to this just started doing those two things, right? If they just started reacting to when a client, and again, it's not really a reaction because it's happening all the time, right? It's happening hopefully every day. It's happening, right? And then you enter that conversation. And the second thing is that every time you sign up a new member, there's a conversation about a referral. If you just did those two things and you did them consistently, it would be a really good one. I'll give you one more real quick, but it's just a quarterly bring a friend week. A quarterly bring a friend week. Every quarter, you have a week where your clients can bring a friend. And you promote it a week in advance. You promote it through your email. You promote it through your private Facebook page. You promote it through announcements. You put a flyer up and you say, hey, next week's Bring a Friend Week. You can bring a friend to class or to a session. We'd love to meet them. Just let us know who you're going to bring. And that's an orchestrated process, right? Where they can bring someone. And here's the thing. What if only 7 people bring one? Great. If 7 people bring one and 3 of the 7 sign up, that's 3 new members that you got for nothing. Right. So like we're starting to paint a picture here. What if every time you sign up a new client, you ask the question about a referral? What if every time someone gave you a compliment about your gym, you had a conversation about a referral? And what if every quarter you could do to Bring a Friend Week? If you just did those 3 things and you did them consistently all year round, please tell me that you don't think you're going to get more referred clients. And you don't need a lot of referred clients to have a lot of lifetime value from those people.
Yeah, love it. Good stuff.
So that's my story today, and I'm sticking to it.
Nice. Sweet, man. Well, Vince, it wouldn't be the end of an episode if you didn't have a little bit of a
call to action.
Call to action.
Always. Here's the thing. I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to call to action the listeners to become a listener of my podcast. Right. So that is what I'm going to call them. And I'm going to give you a link for them to go to become a subscriber. But if you like these episodes that you're doing with me, I have my own podcast called the Fitness Business University Podcast. I do 2 episodes a week. One is a Q&A episode where I answer 3 questions. And the other one is where I just rant and rave for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Right. But I think if your listeners are getting value from the things that we're doing monthly, it would be more valuable if they would become a subscriber of the Fitness Business University podcast and do that. So I don't have any like direct links to send them in terms of getting a new book or buying this or buying that. But I would love if your listeners are enjoying these episodes, that they can get a whole lot more by becoming a subscriber of the Fitness Business University podcast, which is my podcast. So I'll give you that link and put that in the show notes. So hopefully that they thought this didn't suck and they want more, and they can go do it.
All right. Awesome, Vince. As always, thank you for doing this, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Ant.